Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Snam's 2015 first half result presentation. Let me start by outlining the main financial highlights. In the first half of 2015, we have maintained our strong track record of delivery with an increase of more than 9% in the net profit, demonstrating the robustness of our business model. The results of our solid operational activity were also supported by ongoing debt optimization initiatives, as well as the increasing contribution of our international activities. Furthermore, our strong operating cash flow generation fully financed overall CapEx spending during the first half and ensured that our level of net debt remained under control. Net debt stood at 13.9 billion euro at the end of June after the 875 million euro dividend payment to our shareholders. We remain committed to maintaining a solid and efficient capital structure. Let me now provide you with a quick overview of the gas demand in Italy. In the first 6 months of 2015, gas consumption totaled 35.5 BCM, up 7.9% versus the same period of last year. The total demand adjusted for the weather effect reached 36.3 BCM with an increase of 0.8% compared to the same period of last year. The growth was due to the increase accounted both in the residential and thermoelectric sector. Gas consumption in the residential sector was up by 12.4%, reaching 17.2 BCM. This was mainly due to the harsh weather conditions during the last winter compared to the same period of 2014. In the thermoelectric sector, gas consumption was up by 9%, driven by the significant reduction in hydroelectric productions, due to the rainfall back to the normal level compared to the unusual height reached in 2014. This positive factor was only partially offset by the increase in electricity production from renewable sources, mainly solar and wind. Gas demand in the industrial sector decreased by more than 2% on a like-for-like basis. Finally, gas injected into the network for the first 6 months of 2015 was perfectly in line with the same period of last year, since the growth in gas demand was matched with a higher withdrawal from gas storage. That's all from me. I will now hand you over to Antonio, who will discuss our first half consolidated results in more detail.
Thank you, Carlo, and good afternoon, everyone. The 2015 first half consolidated financial results show a net profit growth of 9.1% to 612 million euro, driven by the reduction in net interest expenses, the higher contribution of incomes from associates, and the positive effect of the Robin Hood tax cancellation on income taxes. This result was achieved in spite of an EBITDA almost flat during the new regulatory framework in the storage business and the higher operating costs in the distribution activity, and a 32 million reduction in EBIT due to the increase in depreciation. The first half 2015 total revenues amounted to 1,837 million euro, with an increase of 55 million compared to the first half 2014. Regulated revenues, net of pass-through items, rose by 41 million, up 2.4%, reflecting the following performances by business segment. Transport revenues registered an increase of 8 million compared to the same period of 2014. The positive contribution from the investment carried out in 2013, equal to 38 million, was partially offset by tariff adjustments of around 29 million euro. Distribution revenues grew by 39 million, thanks to the consolidation of AS Torino, 34 million, from July 2014, and Acam Gas, 5 million, from April 2015. On a like-for-like basis, the level of revenues confirmed the stability of the business framework. Storage revenues decreased by 7 million, mainly due to the effects of the new regulatory framework, and in particular to a different timing profile in the tariff mechanism, which switched from a seasonal to a constant outline. At year end, we expect storage regulated revenues almost in line with the previous year. Other revenues rose by 7 million, mainly reflecting the disposal of gas inventories not used for operating activities in the transport business, partially offset by the lack of revenues recorded in 2014 from contractual agreements between Eni and Stogit as part of activities connected to the Legislative Decree 130/2010. Moving to operating expenses, total costs amounted to 403 million. Net of pass-through items, operating costs were 329 million euro, with an increase of 42 million compared to the first half 2014. This was firstly due to the growth of 23 million euro in non-regulated activities, mainly driven by the disposal of gas inventories previously commented. In addition, controllable fixed costs recorded an increase of 23 million compared to the first half 2014, mainly due to a non-recurring decrease in the amount of internal costs allocated to investment activities in the distribution segment. Higher costs of around 10 million euro related to the consolidation of AS Torino and ACAM were almost offset by the efficiencies achieved in the period throughout all business segments. We are committed to continue to pursue efficiencies in order to minimize the growth of controllable fixed costs by the end of this year. Other costs equal to 34 million decreased by 8 million, driven by a reduction in risk fund provisions. Consolidated EBIT amounted to 1,012 million euro, a decrease of 32 million as a result of the increase in regulated revenues of 41 million, net of pass-through items, the increase in controllable fixed cost of 23 million, the increase in depreciation and amortization of 38 million euro. This rise is higher than the organic depreciation growth because of the changes in the business perimeter, 14 million euro, and in the technical lifetime of some metering assets in the distribution segment, around 7 million euro. Finally, other negative effects of 12 million mainly reflects the changes in non-regulated storage revenues, which I previously commented on. Moving to the net profit performance, it recorded a growth of 51 million euro, up 9.1% to 612 million euro. Analyzing the items below EBIT, net profit increase has been supported by, firstly, the reduction in interest expenses of 18 million euro, essentially due to a lower average cost of debt, partially offset by higher average debt during the period. Secondly, an increase in net income from associates of 20 million, mainly due to TAG, which started contributing at the beginning of 2015, partially offset by the effects of AS Torino and ACAM Gas consolidation. Finally, a reduction in income taxes of around 45 million, mainly due to the positive effects of the Robin Hood tax cancellation. Now let me give you the update on the progresses achieved on the debt structure side. As regards debt capital market, in the first half 2015, Snam tapped again the market by issuing a 250 million euro bond with a maturity of 8 years and fixed rate coupon of 1.5%, therefore supporting our goal to have an average maturity of our outstanding medium to long-term debt consistent with our business and regulatory profile. As regards institutional lenders financing, I would like to highlight the cancellation of 300 million euro of relatively expensive European Investment Bank financing and a new, cheaper European Investment Bank financing of 200 million euro related to Snam gas infrastructure project. As regards banking facilities, Snam confirmed its proactive approach. In June, we performed in advance banking facilities refinancing for an overall amount of 3.2 billion euro. We extend the maturity and reduce the margin by 25 basis points. The new contractual arrangement allowed the company to further reduce the cost of these lines by around 10 basis points following the recent rating assignment by Fitch. As regards treasury management optimization, let me underline the important role played by the uncommitted credit lines in the first half 2015, thus allowing Snam to exploit abundant market liquidity and favorable interest rate scenario. The measures carried out by Snam in the first part of the year, together with the full effect of the optimization exercise held on in 2014, made it possible to achieve an average cost of debt of around 2.9% in this period, in the first half 2015. Turning to the free cash flow, Snam generated a positive cash flow from operation of 1,146 million in the first half of 2015, fully financing net investment of 559 million and resulting in a positive free cash flow of 587 million euro. Cash flow from operation benefited from a positive contribution of 120 million of change in working capital, driven by an increase in tax payable of around 70 million euro, mainly due to income taxes accrued in the period. Moving to net investments, cash absorption from the net capex in Italy, amounting to 583 million, was partially mitigated by a net cash-in from financial investments of around 24 million euro, related to, firstly, the reduction of Snam stake in TIGF, 84 million, secondly, the acquisition of Acam Gas, 46 million, and tax price adjustment, 14 million euro. Finally, turning to the balance sheet, net invested capital amounted to 20.9 billion euro, substantially in line with year-end 2014, as the growth in fixed assets was partially compensated by the change in working capital. Net financial debt at the end of the first half amounted to 13.9 billion, an increase of 284 million euro compared to the year-end 2014, as the free cash flow generated in the first 6 months, 587 million, was more than offset by the 875 million euro payment for the full 2014 dividend. Thank you very much for your attention. We are now pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question at this time, please press the star or asterisk key followed by the digit 1 on your telephone. Please ensure that the mute function on your telephone is switched off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. If you find that your question has already been answered, you may remove yourself from the queue by pressing star 2. Again, please press star 1 to ask a question. We will pause for just a moment to allow everyone to signal. We will now take our first question from Harry Wyburd of Merrill Lynch. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking my questions. 2 from me, both on the distribution side, please. So, firstly, I understand that the distribution concessions penciled in for July have been postponed, and I wondered whether you could let us know what impact that might have on your strategy in expanding in gas distribution. And then secondly, could you tell us a bit about whether you would consider partnering with financial investors to perhaps increase your footprint in the ATEM tenders for gas distribution? Thanks.
The reason of the possibility of postponement of the distribution tenders is mainly due to the request to have a better phasing of the timing of the tender. According to the current schedule, are heavily concentrated during the last month of 2015 and the initial months of 2016. So we expect the starting of the process in the first months of 2016. I remind you that in addition there are in place some appeal regarding the criteria to set the redemption value, which are expected to be decided by the end of September. There is the reason, the possibility of some delays in starting the process. Anyway, we are ready to follow the process. Our strategy, we announced at the beginning of the year, is to take part to the bid for tenders and to increase our portfolio of 10-15% is the preliminary evaluation, considering our competitive possibility we have in the new geographical distribution areas. For the second question, we have the capability to bid directly as with Italgas. Anyway, we are ready to evaluate the participation of financial operators. Today, we have no discussion in this way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We will take our next question from Pablo Cuadrado of HSBC. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Just a few questions on my side. The first one is on the equity associates. The performance during H1 has been quite strong, 70 million euros almost. I was wondering whether you can provide a guidance of the expectation that you have for year end. I'm not so sure that we should extrapolate H1 for H2, so I prefer to listen that from you. Second, on the capex, technical investments were a notch below 500 million euros at the end of H1. And if I'm not wrong, I think the guidance in terms of infrastructure capex was 1.3 for year end. So I guess that there had been probably some kind of a slowdown in some of the investments, but if you can clarify a little bit on that front. The third one is on the cost of debt, which has improved again, and clearly Antonio has been explaining what he has been done. The question that I have here is basically if you are considering, let's say, other alternatives to try to speed up the reduction in the cost of debt, like bond buybacks or bond swaps, or simply you prefer to keep waiting for the ongoing refinancing of the debt that you have. And lastly, I promise, there has been some press articles pointing about potential shareholders of TAP willing to sell TAP pipeline project. Could you just comment a little bit if you are ready to take part on that project if there is opportunity to take a stake? Thank you.
Pablo, the first question is related to the affiliates. Some more color on the affiliates, the performance of the affiliates in the first half, and some guidelines for the full year. In the first half, we have a net income from associates. We accounted an income from associates of around 69 million euro, and this was due to the contribution of our international activities, around 59 million euros in relation to TAG 39, the IGF 15, and the interconnector 5 million. The additional contribution derives from the distribution the distribution segment associates, which is Toscana Energia, for 10 million euro. The contribution of TAG, the important contribution of TAG during the first half, which again amounted to 39 million euro, was also due to the distribution of certain costs, maintenance in particular. We believe that its contribution is not fully replicable in the second part of the year. All in all, our best estimate today for the full year contribution from our associates is in the range of 120 million euro. Second question was for the capex. For the third, the cost of debt and the possible contribution of some liability exercise. You know that I would say that the liability management and the buyback of our bonds by cash, our existing bonds, outstanding bonds by cash, in line with we usually do. We are evaluating also this opportunity as we usually do with all the other potential optimization action. We are analyzing also this option in order to understand whether there is a solid ground behind it in terms of value creation potential, and we will analyze this in the second part of the year, this opportunity.
The second question of the CAPEX estimate. During the first half of 2015, we were able, in the current macroeconomic condition, to achieve better than expected efficiency in our CAPEX spending, anyway confirming the realization of the planned project. Therefore, our best guideline in terms of CAPEX is to reach a level in the region of 1.25 billion euro by year end. The fourth question about the interest in TAP. We confirm our interest in evaluating our entry in the TAP pipeline. The development of the South Corridor is a key for the consolidation of the Southern European hub, and the TAP is a key project in that respect, sponsored by SOCAR, which is a key player in new gas supply reaching EU from the South Corridor. In case some of the current shareholders would be available, let me say, to sell their stake in the company, we are ready to evaluate our entry. We believe that anyway, in the case we have a relevant role in the shareholder structure, we can support the project with our skill and know-how, and the emergence of European Southern Hub based in Italy, making our network the key crossroad of the South North European gas corridor, supported by the EU energy policy, will be very strategic for us and contribute to enhancing our international development and increase further option in the medium-long terms, with respect to the additional flow coming from Azerbaijan, both for Italy and Southeast European corridor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will now move to our next question from Javier Suarez of Mediobanca. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating some of the questions because I have difficulties to connect into the conference, so I apologize since the beginning. So the first question is on the regulatory review. We have seen this first consultation document on the WACC. I just wanted to ask you an update on your negotiations with the regulator, or points of discussion on where do you think that this consultation document can be improved, in order to have a sense of what do you think could be a conclusion for this revision on your allowed return on RAC for next regulatory period. Any update or light would be welcome. The second one also on regulation. We have seen by the beginning of July a document on the recognized cost for the electricity transmission grid, and I just wanted to know if there is any significant cross-reading for Snam, or how Snam is reading that document. I'm particularly interested on the intention by the regulator to introduce the TOTEX methodology from 2019. So any question on that would be extremely helpful too. And the third question is a follow-up after Pablo's question on TAP. TAP is not a regulated asset, and obviously has a long execution phase. I just wanted to have a sense of how the company may try to mitigate the execution risk of that project without increasing the risk profile of the company. Thank you.
Thank you. For the first consultation document, the consultation document is related to the methodologies to assess and review the cost of capital, which will continue to be based on the existing methodology. And in the first consultation paper that describes the preliminary view of the regulator, with particular reference to the evaluation of the risk-free rate, I think proposed by the range of 0.5 and 1.5%, and the introduction of a country risk premium for Italy, proposed in the range of 0.5 and 1%. I can say that we are carrying out our comment, and we will send the comment by the end of July. Anyway, the overall approach seems fair, as it is aimed to preserve the stability of the regulatory framework and to provide the investor with adequate return on RAB. In any case, it's necessary to know the regulatory view on the other work parameters in order to have a complete picture of the review impact. Anyway, I can see that the approach seems fair. For some specific subject, you said the TOTEX methodology. I think all at this point are under discussion and will be a part of our comments. Anyway, a movement towards the TOTEX methodology, which means operating cost plus capital cost, could happen also in the gas business in the future. I remember that the regulatory period for the transmission will expire by end of 2017. However, I think that such methodology is still at an early stage, and we need to be further developed and discussed before it can be applied. The second question was by the TAP. I think it's early to comment on the TAP execution today, execution risk today, because we do not know the contractual arrangement underlying the project. We know that all the ship or pay contract are in place, but frankly speaking, we need to analyze and to know the figures of the project. Is not today. We don't have today information about this subject. We will, in any case, analyze properly such potential risk. You know our financial discipline in merger acquisition. We know the experience we had in the previous merger acquisition, and our evaluation, if there will be the possibility to enter in the TAP shareholder structure, will be very pragmatic before evaluate our investment in TAP.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will move to our next question from Jose Ruiz, Macquarie. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon all. Just two questions. The first one is if you can please comment on your outlook regarding gas demand in Italy. You say you're expecting flat. I thought you expected a little bit of an increase this year previously. And the second, I've been trying to look at a little bit of where these cost synergies are happening. And I just saw a little bit of a deceleration in terms of cost in the second quarter for transport activities to 105 million euros. If you could explain if that is happening there or it's just something seasonal in terms of cost. Thank you.
For the gas demand, by the end of the year, our estimate will be an increase of the gas demand about around 7% versus the same versus the 2014. Anyway, adjusted for the weather effect, the total increase will be the gas demand will be flat, an increase of 0.7%. We have to consider that the impact in our revenue coming from the injected into the network the gas injected into the network, and we estimate an increase of the gas injected into the network about 5% by the end of the year, around 76, 77 BCM. Could you please repeat the second question? I understand very well.
Yeah, I was just trying to see where these cost synergies are happening, the efficiency, and I just saw that in the second quarter on a standalone, the cost in transportation activities were down compared to the first quarter. I was wondering if that is a signal of these efficiencies that you are talking about.
Yeah, just I would answer giving you some, in general, more color on our OPEX, and you have noted that in the first half 2015, our operating costs are equal to 329 million. With an increase of 42 million. The reason we have some elements for explaining this increase. First of all, the non-regulated cost due to disposal of gas inventories, but without any impact on our EBIT. The second important element is in terms of control of fixed cost, the increase of around 23 million euro, mainly related in the distribution segment, and such an increase was due, a no recurring increase, very important to be underlined again, was due to the decrease in the amount of internal cost which was allocated to the investment activities. We have other two elements. The first one is the increase of OPEX of cost, again in the distribution, due to the different parameters, so the consolidation of Esse Torino and ACAM, for around 10 million euros, which was offset by the reduction of control fixed cost in the other sector, in particular in the transportation, and you notice this point. On this point, I have anyway to say that this is the combination of both efficiencies and different distribution of cost. So all in all, for the full year basis, we think that this reduction, important reduction on 10 million euros in the transportation, will be partially absorbed.
Very much.
Thank you. We'll move to our next question from Cosmo Panzacchi of Bernstein. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for taking my questions. I have three questions. The first one regards your expansion abroad. So I understand your interest about the TAP, and I understand that a key point here is how the TAP will help Italy becoming the Southern European gas hub. At the same point, however, could you help me understand what has changed in terms of risk profile of this project compared to the past? Because if I remember correctly, in the past you had dismissed the project as not coherent with the risk profile of Snam. The second question, again regarding your expansion abroad, regards your potential tie-up with the international operations of Fluxys. Because we don't see any update on that, I wonder if the deal is still on the table or if it has been scrapped once and for all. And if it's still on the table, what are the current hurdles that prevent it from being completed? Are there elements on the valuation of the assets, or are there elements on the governance issues of the new entity? And finally, I have another question regarding Italy in a longer term view. So if I look at what the authority is doing, the authority is trying to push power consumption more and more with a change in power tariffs. And in particular, the head of the authority, Mr. Bortoni, has clarified in his presentation of the annual report to the Parliament that he sees an increasing role of what he calls the electrical vector versus the gas vector going forward in consumption, especially at residential level. Now I wonder, in such a future where progressively we moved from gas consumption into electrical consumption at residential level for environmental reasons and efficiency reasons, is there a risk that the distribution infrastructure of gas going forward becomes a sort of a stranded asset, or at least sees its value decrease over time? Thank you for your answer.
For the first questions, we don't change our strategy abroad. I said that our risk profile have to remain close to the regulated activity. It is the reason why where the activity is not completely regulated, we will evaluate very well the risk profile. If the question is related to TAP, anyway, is the only possibility of acquisition without regulatory framework in place. I remind that the LGF and the TAG are completely regulated. For the TIP, we have to consider the ship or pay contract in place, and the evaluation of the risk will be linked to the completely cover of the revenues coming from the ship or pay contract. The evaluation of the risk will be when the final investment decision will be taken. Today, the interest in the shareholder participation, let me say, is to understand the evolution and how we can take part to the final investment decision. It's not today, let me say, the participation, the investment decision with the full commitment of our strategy. Anyway, I confirm that we follow and we remain in place our strategy in terms of risk. The risk in the future possibility of acquisition have to be in line with the evolution of the regulatory framework. For the second question, Fluxys is a proof, let me say, consequence of our evaluation in terms of value creation. Snam and Fluxys are continuing to work in a coordinated way for investment and commercial activities along the South-North corridor, which is the main priority, was and is today the main priority in our strategic alliance. We know, you remember, that the strategic alliance was based on the possibility to create, without risk, the reverse flow capacity. Anyway, Snam and Fluxys have also carried out a thorough analysis of the potentialities of the cooperation in the international activity, and the analysis has confirmed the value creation potential of the coordinated development in the South-North corridor, while the value creation associated in the present business environment to a wider scope of the partnership does not support, let me say, to proceed at this stage with more comprehensive integration in the international asset of the two companies. We work at the time is due that we work with depth analysis of the possibility of value creation, and today, with the evolution of the strategic infrastructure development at European level, we cannot recognize with the integration a strong value creation of the company. There is the reason why we will continue the collaboration and the coordination for the investment and commercial aspect in the corridor, but we stop at this moment because could be a new evolution. But at this moment, the possibility of share the participation in both in the companies, European companies, Snam and Fluxys. For the third question, I can say that I don't know frankly speaking, the analysis done by the regulators in terms of the evolution of the power consumption is clear that in the long terms we don't see, frankly speaking, an increase and a substitution of the gas consumption by the power consumption. In the long term, in the medium long terms, the gas will remain the main, let me say, transition fuel for the evolution of the renewable. This is the reason why, frankly speaking, could be some reduction at the residential sector due to the efficiency of the heating system and so on. But anyway, automatically with an increase of the power consumption, anyway, we need more power generation by gas to combine the production of the renewable. So, frankly speaking, I don't see a strong risk in the evolution of our business in the distribution.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will move to our next question from Maurice Choi of RBC. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. I've got 3 questions. My first question's on gas storage. Can you just share with me how the regulated revenues for gas storage will move between 14 and 15? My understanding is that it was supposed to be stable, but then I'm just doing some back of the envelope calculation right now. If you look at, I guess, the lower returns, the loss of the work in progress revenues, offset by the RAB growth and the CapEx, it seems that revenues probably should fall around 30 million. But just help me with how revenues probably could stay flat, I guess, 14 versus 15. My second question is about TAP again. Recently, I did read a newspaper article saying that the Turkish government or Turkish utilities are also looking into the same 20% stake that Statoil might be putting up for sale. Wanted to get your color now about how, if you define that this is something you want to go for, what puts you on the competitive edge? And the last question is more about news from yesterday that Cheniere Energy in the States, they're looking to create an LNG facility that will bring gas, U.S. gas, through Croatia and Hungary into Central and Southern Europe. And just want to know your views, I guess, about how disruptive this could or could not be for your plans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first question of the gas storage, I can say that we are waiting for the final approval of the tariff for 2015. And I don't see, you remember that 2015 is the first year of the regulatory period for the storage, and I can say I don't expect surprise, and I expect that the revenues in 2015 will be close in line with the revenue of the previous year. There will be the renewal of the storage will be in terms of exogenous parameters. We expect starting from 2016 for transmission, storage, and distribution. There is no change in the regulatory framework of the storage, but frankly speaking, we are discussing and we are carrying out our comment about the risk-free, about the country risk, and I said before, I don't expect negative impact or anyway a reduction which we cannot manage in terms of value creation by Snam. I'll give you some detail, Antonio, about this question.
Some few details for your math on that. Maybe too detailed anyway. In understanding the evolution of the revenues, we have to take for storages for 2015, we have to take into account the two negative effects that you have already mentioned. The reduction of the return and the different treatment of the work in progress. On that, but there are other two positive elements that compensate in our evaluation the reduction of the first two. The first one positive element is the increase of the RAB that is due to the important investment in 2012 and 2013, and secondly, the second element is the new regulatory reference RAB, which is used for the revenues of 2015, which instead of being the RAB at the year T minus 2 is in the year T minus 1.
For the third questions, there have been many press rumors on potential, the second question of TAP, sorry. There have been many press rumors on potential investor in TAP, and it's hard to comment about their reliability. We will continue to monitor the process to be ready to examine the investment opportunity when it will actually appear. Anyway, I can say that we are the strong infrastructure partner. We could be a strong infrastructure partner for SOCAR. SOCAR is the supplier of gas to Italy, and the collaboration in terms of managing the South-North corridor to Europe with Snam will be very strong. There is the reason why it's only a general comment, but I think that our approach will take into account the joint collaboration with SOCAR. For the third question of LNG, first let me remind that I said a lot of time the LNG market could represent in the medium long terms an important opportunity in order to increase the liquidity and the flexibility of the gas market and the gas-to-gas competition, for example, in Italy, providing an important tool in order to increase the supply diversification. Frankly speaking, I don't think that will increase the regasification business, the regasification activity very quickly in Europe. My opinion is that in the next 2 or 3 years we remain strong supplier to Eastern countries, anyway, to Asia. But anyway, you know, in the national energy strategy in Italy, which will be revised and will be set some specific technical document to identify the possibility of the LNG strategic, let me say, LNG plant. We are monitoring, we are following the Ministry of Development in analyzing the possibility to set some specific criteria for the strategic LNG plant. In this case, I remember to you that the strategic plant will be regulated with specific rules if the plant will be appointed strategic. Will represent a specific new regulatory framework will be set by the regulator.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. We will move now to our next question from Anna Maria Scaglia of Morgan Stanley. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I've got just a very few quick questions. The first one is, can you please update us on your net debt guidance for the year and average cost of debt expectation, if you confirm the data you gave at the first quarter? Second question is regarding to associates. In your business plan, you were expecting associates contribution to be around 130 million by 2018. For this year, you're guiding for 20 million higher. Is this better performance anticipated, or should we think that by 2018 as well, the performance should be 20 million higher? And last question, regarding the other revenues of 40 million you spoke about at the strategy presentation, for which you expected the regulator to issue statements. Can you please update us? Are you still confident this can come? What's the timeline there? Thank you.
In relation to our financial, to the guidelines, our debt at the end of this year, the guidelines remain the same. We confirm the guideline between 13.8 and 13.9 billion euros. Again, if you remember, the guideline is a range also because it depends on the evolution of our net working capital due to the balancing system activities, which does not depend on us, but it depends on the decision of the shippers. In relation to the contribution from our affiliates, there is an increase for this year. The increase is significant because we are talking about 120 million euros, which is the guideline that the new guideline instead of around 100. For the time being, I would prefer not to change our guideline in the medium term or 130. Even if we are experiencing that the contribution to our profit and loss coming from TAG is and also from TIGF are higher than expected.
For the last question, you remember that last March in the strategy presentation I tried to give you more granularity about the opportunities arising from the new services areas such as capacity services, balancing regime, and cooperation with gas exchange operators. We estimated that the services incentive scheme, which is already identified and under discussion with the regulatory body, could activate within the current regulatory period a potential new annual revenue of 40 million euro. We have some progress because on July 24th, the regulator has published a consultation document which describes a first example of new services, the balancing regime particularly, which could be introduced in the gas system. And the economic incentive referred to the two areas. The first one concerning the quality and accuracy of the information provided by the TSO to the network users to balance the commercial portfolio, and the second one concerning the efficiency of the actions undertaken by the TSO in the market when buying, selling gas in order to keep the network in balance. And in the document, the regulator proposed a cap and floor mechanism for the economic incentive set at 20 million euros per year as the maximum amount achievable. Only to say that there is some progress. This is the first step, and it's clear that the mechanism will enter into operation progressively and after the test phases.
Thank you. We will move to our next question from Monica Girardi of Barclays. Please go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I have just two quick questions. The first one is on Italgas and the revocation of the judicial administration. I was wondering if you can just comment on what we might expect from here, if we do have to expect any legal tail or if the things is done. The second one is on it goes back to capex. Antonio, if you can just give to us the split of incentivized and non-incentivized capex in the first half, and what do you expect for the full year? Thank you.
Monica, the court of Palermo has revoked the measure ruling on the return of the company, having considered the verification carried out as well as the active and effective cooperation of Snam Group. No substantial gaps for the robustness of the Snam Group internal control system as a whole has been detected. Specific organizational and procedural measures within Italgas have been drawn up and shared through an effective consultation process between Snam and the court-appointed administrator. The outcome will be properly monitored by Italgas supervisor board. So the first step is a monitoring by the supervisor board of Italgas. Italgas will ensure the flow of information to the competent authority envisaged by the Italian law. Substantially, there is no limitation of any kind of activities, powers, and duties of the Italgas board of director are in place. It is only a specific report aimed at informing on some operation already valid and executed.
For the investment at the end of the year, as Mr. Malacane was saying before, the estimation, the guidance is around 1 billion and 250 million, out of which 65% we expect will earn the return higher than the base return. It is more or less the same proportion we have at the end of the first half.
Only to complete the. Sorry, Monica, only to complete the answer by Italgas, I think your question is related to the impact. I can say that our estimate is an impact in terms of operating cost in 2015 for the administration, the year, let me say, administration from 6 to 10 million euro, and there are non-recurrent costs. This is very clear. So we will have an impact, but it's non-recurring cost.
Thank you. We will now take our next question from Olivier Van Dusselaer. Sam, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I just have two questions left on the consolidation of the distribution market. You just said that you thought that would start in the first months of 2016. I was wondering if you could give us an indication on how long you think the process will last, and also separately, if to what extent you think that the concession fees actually might increase through that process, and to what extent that could possibly offset significantly the synergies that you could get from improving your geographic footprint. Thank you.
Thank you. We expect that when the process will start, a process of the consolidation of the market from 4 to 6 years. It's true that there was some change in the rules. One is the concession fee, but I remind you that anyway today the concession fee are different in the different concession, but we have a concession fee from 10 to 15, 16% today. So anyway, the result is a reduction in the concession fee. The second aspect is that we have a wide geographical distribution in Italy, and where we are in some region, in some concession where we have a strong synergy capability in managing the business. There is the reason why I don't think that the possibility of increase of our portfolio could limit the margin we can create with the future consolidation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As there are no further questions, I would like to turn the call back to our speaker for any additional or closing remarks. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, if there are no more questions, so thank you everybody, and see you after the summer holiday, and keep in touch. If you need any further follow-up, please contact the IR department. Thank you, bye-bye.